Ready or not? So you're the voice. You gotta be the voice.
Oh boy.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Actually, should we put the Zoom on there or no?
That's what I was thinking. If they're counting us.
Yeah, we're counting them as a minion. Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Beautiful. Oh, we have 10.
This is
7,
9.
8, 9.
I think if we're counting them as a minion.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we got to show our minion on the screen here, if you don't mind.
Put the zoomers on screen.
Well, we're spaced out.
Is Greg with you? All right.
Oh, there we go.
The good news is we're socially distanced. You probably can. You have to ask Melissa, yeah.
Everybody just spread out. We can take off our masks.
That's true, yeah. Shabbat shalom. Oh, the Moshe and Pam are here. How are you? And Morris is here. How are you? You guys are counting for our minion tonight, so I'm glad you're here. Oh no. Is it time? It is time. Yeah, I think so. I'll leave mine on. Let me the voice. Page 13. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Blessing over the candles. Want to rise? We can rise. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. You may be seated. Page 15. We're going to try a upbeat, energetic Funarana, page 13.
Sorry.
the bottom of the page 15. Arba'im Shana Hakun Bedor Three lines up from the bottom. Ya'aloz Sadai B'chol Asher Bo. Kiva lishbot haaretz, yishbot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim b'emunato. 17. Ohave Adonai sinura, shamer nafshot chasidav, miyad rishayim yatzilem, or zaru ala tzadik, lishre lev simcha, simchu tzadikim badonai, vehodu lezecher kadsho. Page 18. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishbot haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim b'meisharim. Chadodi, a beautiful melody, a new melody that was created not too long ago.
Mhm.
What's your guess? 2 years?
Maybe like 2017, 18.
2017 or 18. Josh Warshowski, a beautiful person and a song leader. Page 23, Mizmor Shir Liyam Shabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לאדוני, זמר לשמך עליון, זמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לאדוני, זמר לשמך עליון, זמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, וערכתך בלילה. עלי אסור מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לאדוני, זמר לשמך עליון, זמר לשמך
Katamar Yifra, Keres Balvanon, Yiske, Shitulim Bevet Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrifu, Od Yenuvun Beseva, Deshenim Brananim Yihiyu, Lehagid Ki Ashar Adonai, Tsuri Velolatabo, Adonai Malak,
Adonai Malaki Lavet Lavet Shatan.
Page 24. Edotecha ne'emnu me'od v'etchana b'kodesh Adonai le'orech yamim. It's Mourner's Kaddish, in the middle, page 24. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei rabbah
Amen.
ve'alma divrach yerute ve'amlich malchute v'chaye echon u'vyom echon u'v'chaye dehol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu
Richu.
le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'romav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru
Amen.
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 Friends, we all rise. Page 28. How are you feeling?
We'll find out.
You want to give it a shot?
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch
You may
Adonai
be seated.
El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Hamari V'Aravim.
Page 29.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, אהבת תורה ומצוות ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת.
ותסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
32.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהי לו אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע לבני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי 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 לי. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גא ישראל.
Prayer of protection, page 33.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו בשלום, וחביתנו
Pros alenu sukat shilomecha baruch ata Adonai hapore sukat shalom alenu v'yakol amo Yisrael v'ya Yerushalayim.
Amen. We rise, verse 34. V'sham kabru b'nei
Yitkada v'yitkada shmei rabba.
Amen.
V'yama divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'cha yechonu v'yomechonu v'chayedecha ben Yisrael b'gala u'bizman kariv imeru. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Olam Amaya Yitbarak V'yishtabak V'yitpar V'yitromam V'yitnase V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shmei Kudisha Brichu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiram V'yama V'yimeru. Amen. be seated. Shabbat Shalom. We're delighted that you're here. We're delighted that you're here. So what makes a great leader? For the Torah, leadership is not about methods or tactics, it's about character. Therefore, the question arises, what kind of human being must one be to lead on behalf of God? Not surprisingly, the life of Moses, which we're about to do a lot of reading, offers us some clues. The second chapter of Exodus recounts episodes in Moses' life that seem to prepare him for the mantle of leadership. First, Moses sees an Egyptian taskmaster beating an Israelite slave, and he intervenes on behalf of the latter. Observing injustice, Moses is not just disturbed, he's not just disappointed, he acts to remedy the situation. How many of us encounter situations of injustice and pretend not to notice, or register the injustice, but find numerous excuses not to act? And how often do we turn a blind eye to strife, the kind of strife that we might be able to ameliorate or even heal, fearing that the burden of getting involved would just be too great to bear? So what sets Moses apart is that he not only recognizes the oppression, but he acts unflinchingly to solve the problem, to bring an end to the conflict. Crucially, the circle of Moses' concern doesn't end there. The Torah tells us another story in which Moses sees a number of shepherds mistreating a group of 7 young Midianite women. And the text tells us Moses rose up and he saved them, and he watered their flock. Seeing the women being abused, Moses took action and he rescued them. And so the question is, why does the Torah tell us yet another story? And some traditionalists say the Torah wants us to know that Moses is not just offended by injustices perpetrated against his own people, he also defends foreigners and strangers, the Midianites, and his passion for justice makes no distinction between nations. It's not enough for a Jewish leader to display ethnic solidarity, because ethnic solidarity is certainly a necessity, but it's just as surely not sufficient. In order to be worthy of leadership, one must rebel against wrongdoing, no matter the identity of the victim. The Hebrew word that the Torah uses to describe Moses' bold action is significant. It says v'yoshian, and he saved the women. In this next chapter that we'll read, we learn that God too is about to rescue. Summarizing the events 11 chapters later, the Torah announces in the words that echo Moses' actions, the Lord v'yosha saved Israel that day from the Egyptians. And so the word used to describe Moses' actions on behalf of the vulnerable women is the same word. It is identical to the word used to describe God's actions on behalf of the vulnerable Israelites. We learn that to side with oppression, with the oppressed, and to act against injustice is to be like God. Moses becomes an activist. He's a person appalled by oppression and persecution. These are, we've seen, noble qualities, qualities so noble, in fact, that they're associated with God. And yet, at the same time, we're cautioned. We need to be cautious about crusaders against injustice who are often consumed by their own indignation. All too often, the line between righteousness and self-righteousness is all but disappears, and the results are destructive. And so the Torah then tells us something else about Moses, something qualifying about him. It tells us he was a shepherd. To perform his duties properly, a shepherd has to combine the power on the one hand with a gentle attentiveness on the other. He must have both the capacity to control and provide for the sheep and the heart to nurture and to care for each of them as well. And there's a midrash, probably well known, that poignantly evokes Moses' mercy and tenderness. And it says, when Moses was tending the flock of Jethro in the wilderness, a little kid escaped from him. He ran after it until it reached a shady place. And when he reached that shady place, it came across a pool of water and it stopped to drink when it reached. When Moses approached it, he said, I didn't realize that you ran away, that you fled because of thirst. You must be tired. And he picks up the kid on his shoulder and he walks on. And at that moment, God says to him, you have mercy in leading a flock of sheep. You will assuredly lead my flock, the people of Israel. So not only must a leader take offense at injustice and act accordingly, a leader must also respond with compassion. It's critical to note that real compassion, this is key, is not merely an emotion. Moses doesn't just feel bad for the kid. Real compassion is a weaving. It's a weaving of emotion together with action. God's appointed leader doesn't merely feel bad for others. Compassion is necessary, but insufficient in the absence of action. So one last criteria. As soon as God gives Moses his task of approaching Pharaoh to free the Israelites from Egypt, Moses tries to demur and protest. Who am I? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and free the Israelites from Egypt? God attempts then to assuage Moses' anxiety, saying, I will be with you. That will be your sign that it is I who sent you. And this second clause is somewhat ambiguous. What is the sign? Is it simply the fact that God will be with him? Is the sign perhaps that God appeared to him at the burning bush? Or might it refer rather to what follows immediately in the text, where it says, when you free the people from Egypt, you shall worship God on this mountain. And if that's the answer, if that possibility is the answer, the sign that it is God who sent Moses will only be realized when Moses succeeds in bringing the Hebrews out of Egypt and leading them back to this mountain upon which he is standing at this moment. Rabbi Alexander Zusha Friedman offers a fanciful but yet beautiful interpretation. He says, God gave Moses his monumental assignment, and Moses' response was to ask, who am I? And God answers, the very fact that you have asked this question, that you doubt your ability to carry out this mission, is the sign that it's I who sent you. For I only designate those who are modest and self-effacing to do my work. It can be hard to bear in mind that in a culture that is obsessed with self-promotion, in a society hell-bent on building self-esteem, a degree of self-doubt is essential for authentic leadership. Too much self-doubt, and a person ends up paralyzed and can't fulfill his mission. Too little, however, and the temptations of arrogance and grandiosity loom large. God tells Moses that in effect, it's good that you doubt yourself, now go do. The opening chapters of Exodus paint a portrait. It's a picture of a flesh and blood leader. But they also lay out a template for the qualities to be found in human leadership. One who sees injustice and is compelled to respond. One who brings together a capacity for indignation and a gentleness of spirit. One who manifests a compassion so deep that he cannot but attempt to aid those in need. And one who remembers to ask, who am I? These are the signs that it's God who sent the leader. These are the qualities by which we should measure our leaders. So the prayer. May we be blessed with leaders who stand up to oppression, coupled with a loving heart and a sense of humility. And may we have the wisdom to follow in the footsteps of such leaders. Shabbat Shalom.
Nicely done. Friends, we continue in our service with our Shabbat charge on page 48. Let's rise as we sing Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu. Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu, Retzeh Retzeh V'Menuchatenu, Chadshenu b'mitzvotecha, V'ten chelkenu b'toratecha, Sabenu mituvecha, V'samchenu b'yeshuatecha, V'taher libenu le'avdecha v'yemet b'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava u'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha b'yanuchu v'Yisrael mekadesh shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Kaddish Shalem.
יתקרא ויקרא שמי רבה.
אמן.
ביעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם ועלמיה.
יתברך
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונקמתה דמירן ביעלמה ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צלור הון ובאות הון לכל ישראל קודם אבו הון ושמיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן.
Page 49.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher l'tzion Mitzrayim ki banu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodeshecha be'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon
On the Shabbat, our hearts go out to the families of Martin Belasco, Dorothy Jacobs, Bruce Methner, and Mona Schlachter. We're observing the yahrzeits of David Cohen, Aaron Derman, Celia Engelhart, Max Morris Friedman, Judy Ginsburg, Abraham Goldberg, Max Greenberg, Harry Louis Jarnitsky, Israel Kohansev, Nanette Kramer, Samuel Krams, Ron Kriegsman, Barbara Levine, Ernestina Letman, Trudy Lowy Camp, Sybil Martin, Tilly Naftulin, Irene Ross, Hannah Rubin Hurt, Mulak Sadat, Julian Schneider, Fred Sklar, Edith Levin Turberville, Herman Weiss, Nathan Weiner, Molly Wishy, and Katie Wolf. All those observing yahrzeit, a period of mourning, we ask you to rise, words of mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam elamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei kudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. You may be seated. Morning Minyan, 9 o'clock every morning on Zoom. Please join us. There is no adult ed American Jewish history this week. We're going to resume on January 16th. This Sunday, 2 events. One, the CVS Men's Club Blood Drive. Bring your blood. CVS Men's Club Breakfast. Bring, I guess, a hunger. Come with hunger, come with blood, and join us. Those are our announcements for the week. Rabbi, you got anything else, maybe? You got something special? Please rise for Hatikvah. O Lord, believe up in Ima, Nefesh Yehudi Homiyah, Ufate Mizrach Kadima, Ayin Letzion Sophia, For lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva bat shnot apayim, liotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim, liotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
Priestly benediction. You ready for that?
All right. Log from here.
Here we go.
Yivarech Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Yehi ratzon.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuanecha.
Yehi ratzon.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom.
Yehi ratzon.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Shkach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Navatel, everybody.